Hello and welcome, I'm Mr. Wood. Welcome to lesson number 10 in our series on Judaism, beliefs and teachings. This lesson is all about key moral principles. Our objectives today are to know the key moral principles, tikkun olam, tzedekah and chesed, and also to understand how these are shown in Jewish lives and how they exist alongside the mitzvot. And hopefully you've seen the lesson already on mitzvot. Now, what do you need to know today? You need to know that as well as the mitzvot, there are three key principles that Jews look to when making decisions. And these are tikkun olam, chesed, and tzedekah. A man must have a code. That's a quote from Omar, one of my favorite characters in a TV show. What he means by this is that all of us have to have a code, a set of rules that we live by. It might be a really obvious set of codes like the 613 mitzvah or the 10 commandments. It might, however, just be some simple rules that we always kind of fall back on. We might not even have written these down or considered them, but you watching this today probably have certain things that you would be inclined to do or not do when it comes to moral decision making. For example, my wife, since she was a child, when her mum used to put her to bed, she used to say to her every night, always be kind, always tell the truth. And because of that, when my wife is making moral decisions, she goes back to those two thoughts. Am I being kind here? Am I telling the truth? And that guides a lot of the decisions that she makes in life. In previous lessons, we've looked at two different topics. Firstly, we've looked at the covenant that Moses made with God. And as part of that covenant, Moses said that the Jews would follow 613 mitzvot, 613 rules that God laid down for them. And in our previous lesson, we considered this idea of free will and mitzvot. Yes, the Jews have 613 rules to follow, but they also have free will, the ability and responsibility to make their own moral decisions. I said we'd explore that a little bit more. And this week, with this idea of key moral principles, we're going to see how those three ideas kind of work together and how Jews make moral decisions, bearing in mind they've got rules to follow, they've got free will, and also they've got guiding principles. Every single day, we're presented with a huge amount of decisions to make. Right from the word go this morning, when you woke up, you had decisions to make. And you'll find that in life, you'll come to crossroads all the time where there's more than one thing that you could do, more than one option in front of you. Sometimes it's a series of good options, sometimes it's a series of bad options. But when it comes to moral decisions, what guides you? What do you go to when there's more than one different option? Well, some of us have identified what's called a moral compass, an idea that we've got something within us that will guide us to the right decision when there's more than one option available to us. Now, there are three key moral principles that we're going to be looking at today that some Jews follow. So when some Jews get to a moment in life where they've got more than one option and have to make a moral decision, it's likely they'll consider these three ideas with regard to what step they take next. The first one is tikkun olam, which means healing the world or repairing the world. Now, when we read the story of creation in Genesis, we can see that when God makes the world, he says it is good. And when he's finished and made humans as well, he says it's very good. But when we look around the world today, I think we can see that in many areas, it's not very good anymore. There's mass poverty, there's social injustice, there's natural disasters and illnesses, and lots of aspects of the world today show that it's not very good at all. Now, this idea means that humans have the responsibility to repair the world, to heal it, and to make it good again. Now, this works on lots of different scales. At one end of the spectrum, we can look at it in terms of like the Jews believe that we should all be involved in helping people in poverty. We should all be involved in cleaning up the environment. We should all be involved in lobbying politicians to fight against social injustice. But also many Jews interpret tikkun olam to mean they just need to really consciously be faithful to God and follow the mitzvot. And by doing that, they are making the world right again. They are repairing the world through following the mitzvot. Now, we're going to look at a few examples of different Jews who've done this through history and who are doing this today. So the first one is Rabbi, Abraham, Joshua, Heschel. You can see there from the picture, there he is standing next to Martin Luther King and standing up for the rights of black people in America in the 1960s. This is a great example of a real injustice that was occurring. And because this rabbi believed in tikkun olam, there he was standing up against that injustice and saying, this isn't right. I want to heal the world. I want to repair the world. This isn't right. I want to make it right. Another example is a charity. There's loads and loads of Jewish charities you can find out there if you have a Google of this afterwards, who really follow the principles of tikkun olam. But this one is called Israel Aid, and you can see they're helping out in 40 countries worldwide. Find out more about them. This lady is Alicia Garza. She's very involved in the Black Lives Matter movement in America. You can read all about her online. But another example of someone saying, this is unjust, this isn't right, this is a part of the world that needs to be healed. I'm going to step up and I'm going to do that. Another example here is Sivan Yari, amazing woman who does some incredible work in Africa. She's got a great TED talk. If you want to watch that, you can find the link just below. But yeah, really inspirational, wonderful person who's really working to make the world good. And just one more thing to point out, on the Tikkun Olam Mitzvah Day, you can find out all about this. This is a day where all Jews are encouraged to get involved in some social action and to do something under the banner of Tikkun Olam to heal the world and repair it and make it good again. Our next key moral principle is tzedekah. Now, tzedekah can be translated different ways. I mean, it literally means justice. It literally means working to make things right and fair. But it's also translated and understood as charity, charitable giving, giving of your money, of your possessions to help those who are in need. One of my heroes, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, and I'm going to send you the link to read up on this for yourself later on. Awesome guy. I'm just going to read you what he says about tzedekah. He says, tzedekah means both justice and charity, because we believe they go hand in hand. Justice is impersonal, charity is personal. We call God our Father, our King. A king dispenses justice, a parent gives a child a gift out of love. That is the meaning of tzedekah. An act that combines both justice and love. Giving to others is one of the most beautiful things we can do, and one of the most creative. We create possibilities for other people. We soften some of the rough edges of the world. We help alleviate poverty and pain. We give God the sacrifice He most desires of us, that we honor His image in other people. Isn't that fantastic? And that's the idea there, that it is justice and it's also charity. I love that idea there of our Father, our King. A king gives justice, a father gives love. When we look at what Maimonides taught about tzedekah, he said there's like a 8-rung ladder, he described it as, where there's a spectrum of giving. And so right down the bottom is someone who gives reluctantly and with regret. But at the top of the ladder is someone who enables someone else to become self-sufficient. The third and final key moral principle we're looking at today is chesed. And chesed is loving kindness. Now, if you think about it, we've got healing the world, tikkun olam. And two of the ways that can be done are tzedekah, which is giving of our possessions and our money to work towards a just society, but also chesed, which is loving and being kind to others. And in the Talmud, it's even suggested that chesed, it could be seen as even greater than tzedekah, because you can be loving and kind to someone who's rich or poor, who's sick or healthy, who's alive or dead. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be involved with, and a great way of working towards tikkun olam. It includes all aspects of life, because it's all about the attitude that you have as you undertake certain things. So in terms of charitable giving, for example, your attitude to how you're giving your money and sharing it, is it coming from a loving place? Is it coming out of kindness, or is it coming out of the feeling the need that you have to? If we go back to Rabbi Jonathan Sacks again, awesome. He writes so much fantastic stuff, and I'd encourage you to pause the video here and read that. But one thing he says that I really, really like is this. He says, chesed means seeing strangers as if they were our long-lost brothers or sisters. Isn't that a fantastic concept? Okay, time to pause here. Have a go at these questions to test your understanding. And there's an extension there for you as well. When you're ready, unpause the video and we'll look at the answers. Okay, let's check your understanding. So number one, in your own words, explain the meaning of tikkun olam, tzedekah, and chesed. Hopefully you said something along the lines of tikkun olam is the idea of healing or repairing the world and bringing it back into its perfect state, which is what God wants of it. For tzedekah, maybe you talked about justice and charitable giving, giving of your time and your money to help those in need. Chesed is loving kindness and showing love to someone, to everyone you meet, effectively. You might have used that quote there from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs about treating strangers as your brother or your sister. Number two examples of how a Jew can live by the principle of tikkun olam. So they might get a job which lends itself to healing the world, someone who brings justice and love to the world, maybe working for a charity or perhaps becoming a judge or a police officer. It might just be that they get involved with Mitzvah Day every year and do something to help the environment or the community around them. Number three, how could giving money to a person living in poverty be seen as fulfilling the principle of tzedekah? Okay, so we know that by giving your money or your possessions to someone in need is an example of tzedekah in itself. Also, by helping people in poverty to get out of poverty, what we're doing there is we're decreasing social injustice and we're making society a fairer, more just place to live. Number four, in what way does the Talmud suggest that chesed could be seen as even better than tzedekah? Well, it could be seen as even better because chesed is applicable to everyone you meet, not just people who seem to be in need, but your loving kindness for others should be shown in every interaction that you have. And then extension there for you, hopefully you had a chance to have a look at that. If you haven't yet, do so please. So how are these concepts connected? We've looked at the 613 mitzvot, the commandments given by God. We've looked at free will, and now we're looking as well at these key moral principles. Well, they are all connected because effectively God said, these are the rules. This is how I'd like you to live. Now, underneath those rules, you're going to have opportunities where maybe there's more than one option. And you at that moment are going to have to use your free will to decide what the right thing to do is. Now, while you're choosing what the right thing to do is, you need to be thinking about tikkun olam. Is this going to heal the world? Is this going to make things better? Or is it going to make things worse? Tzedekah, am I working towards making the world a more just place? Am I using my possessions and what I have to help people in need? And chesed, is this the most loving and the kindest thing to do? What's my attitude here? What's my heart saying? Am I moving out of love or out of selfishness? Okay, team, as we come to the end of the lesson now, a couple more questions for you there. Just to point out number 5, try and use all those key words and show me how you understand what these keywords are and how they link together. If you want to do really well in this GCSE, then you need to think about these key concepts, but how they link. The way to get a high grade in your GCSEs is your flexibility of thinking. Yes, I understand these topics, but can I understand how they work together? Okay, hopefully you had a chance to have a go at those now and you paused it and unpaused it. But your short paragraph should have said something along the lines of Jews have got the 613 mitzvot, which are how God wants them to live. This comes under the covenant that Moses made with God on behalf of the Jews. They also have free will, which is the ability and responsibility to make their own moral decisions. And this will often be guided by the key moral principles. All Jews need to live a good life is the principle of tikkun olam. Well, we're looking for 3 reasons to agree and 3 reasons to disagree. So, reasons to agree, you could say, yes, that's all they need to know. They need to heal the world. And if they're bearing in mind that they want to make the world better, this will help them make all their moral decisions. You could also say that for some Jews, tikkun olam covers following the mitzvah. And for some Jews, following tikkun olam covers Zelicah. And it follows chesed as well. They come under tikkun olam. So you could say, yeah, that is all they need. 3 reasons to disagree might be, nope, they should be focusing solely on the mitzvah that came from Moses. That's part of the covenant, and that's incredibly important. You might have talked specifically about tzedekah, about using their possessions to bless people in need. You might have talked about chesed and having the right attitude, as well as doing the right thing, having the right loving, kind attitude behind it. And then do check out that website, that extension. There's some fantastic stuff on there, and that will give you a much deeper understanding of Jewish beliefs and teachings than I ever could. So please do check that out. That brings us to the end of this lesson. Let's finish by looking at our need to know. You need to know that as well as the mitzvot, there are 3 principles that Jews consider when making decisions. These are tikkun, olam, chesed, and tzedekah. See you next time.